Welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking about the 5 languages of love. Have you heard that book? But I bet you haven't heard my approach because no one has. Get ready for it. And I've got some great alliteration for you today. I'm married and maximizing my relationships, Michele. Oh yeah. Episode number 36. Here we go. Welcome to the I Cut the Mustard show, where you'll learn how to stop stressing, stop stress eating, and start fitting into those skinny jeans. Because whether it's belly fat or bloating, stress stinks. But don't worry, you've got what it takes. You're sharp enough. You cut the mustard. Now that we've got that fancy alliteration out of the way, let's talk about love and relationships. So I actually have never read that book about the 5 languages of love, but I've heard so much about it. And it's a book by Dr. Gary Chapman that he wrote back in the 90s. And the basic premise of the book is that we connect with people in 5 different ways. Like there's 5 different languages that we share our love in, and that we should know what our language is, and we should know what our partner's language is, or maybe our kids, right? Other people around us, we should understand what their language of love is so that we can express that to them in a way that they will feel loved. And I think this is a cool approach. I mean, letting us know that there's a lot of different ways that we communicate with each other, and it's nice to know what other people are thinking and what you're thinking and what your needs are. But I feel like it falls short a little bit. So here's my critique of it and my new approach. My response is that there's a lot of books that focus on being a good communicator and figuring out how to communicate what you need to other people, right? And communication is totally great. I love it. I love talking to you every day, and I hope I'm communicating properly, right? So communication is paramount. But sometimes I think we get caught up in communicating our needs to other people, and then maybe we can get obsessed with how we're communicating and maybe manipulating them in some ways. And this isn't like evil, bad manipulation, but like, you're just wanting them to do something for you, right? And so you're trying to kind of trick them or get them to do it when maybe they don't want to do it, right? So that's what I'm calling manipulation. So whenever we're expecting other people to know our needs and provide those needs to us, then we can get into a situation where we're trying to make them do it so that we can feel better, right? And if you've been with me long enough, then you'll know that other people can't make us feel good, right? All of our emotions come from inside of us, from the thoughts that we have about ourselves and about the situation. So for example, if I am in a relationship and I have good thoughts about it, then I'm going to feel loved. If I have loving thoughts about that relationship, then I'm going to feel love in that relationship. And if I don't, I won't. That's that simple. And it doesn't matter what the other person is doing. And I know that you can all relate because we've all been in this situation where maybe you have to spell out exactly what you want from somebody, and then they do it, but you don't really feel loved. Like I tell my husband that I want to have flowers. I'm just making this up. I tell my husband, hey, I really want you to get me some flowers. Then he's really kind of mad about it, but I'm like, no, you got to get me flowers every week, or maybe we have a fight about it. I don't know. And then whenever he gives me the flowers, then I don't really feel loved. I feel like, oh, well, if I told him that he had to get the flowers, so it wasn't coming from him. So now I don't feel loved because he didn't just like think about it by himself, right? So depending on what our interpretation of what's going on, that's whether or not we're feeling loved, right? Or another example might be that my husband actually is really amazing and tells me how beautiful I am all the time. He tells me how much he loves me all the time. But a lot of times, being a woman with body issues still, a lot of times I'm like, what? Or it's taken me a long time to be like, yes, I am beautiful, right? And whenever we first started dating, I'm like, what? And I just like kept pushing it off. And I wouldn't receive that love from him because I didn't believe him. I don't believe that I'm loved, or we're pushing it off, right? This is the same whenever someone gives us a compliment and we just deflect it. Like whenever they say, oh, you have such great hair or such great teeth or whatever. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess my hair looks great. I got it cut at this place. Or, oh, it's nothing. I just bought it here or whatever. You just deflect it off like it's not a big deal, right? So the fact that other people know our love language and give it to us doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to feel loved. And if you get into the trap where you're expecting other people to fulfill your love needs, then you're going to want to make them do stuff maybe that they don't want to do. And even when they do it, you might not feel loved, right? Because it's not their job to love you. I hope that's making sense. So of course, it would be great and wonderful if everybody loved us, but that's not how we feel loved. And another part of all of that is that we're giving our power to other people, right? That can feel out of control. You don't feel like you're in control of your life whenever that happens. So a couple more examples. I think that maybe when people are nice to me, then I'm going to feel good about me. But whenever they're mean to me, then I don't feel good about me, right? I'm putting my expectations for knowing if I'm a good wife. Like, for example, if my husband compliments me at dinner time, then I know that I'm a good wife. I did a good job at dinner. But if he doesn't compliment me, then I'll know that dinner wasn't that great, right? And I'll choose to believe that he doesn't love me or whatever it is that way. So I'm like waiting for him to give me those words of affirmation, and then he doesn't give them to me. So I feel unfulfilled. And because of that, it's very disempowering. And if I expect other people to give me love, to fulfill me, then I'm always waiting on other people to do that. And I don't have control over when that's happening for me. So the new approach that I want to give you to these 5 languages of love is that you just figure out what yours is and you give it to yourself. Right? You can control you 100%. And I love these different languages of love, which I'm going to go over in a second. But what if you were the only one who needed to love you? What if you gave yourself the languages of love? You gave yourself love in a way that you're able to receive it, and you loved yourself completely from there, right? What if you gave yourself love, you were filled up with love, and you were happy on your merry way, and you didn't need other people to do that for you? Then what would happen in your relationship? Would I just leave my husband because I'm good? I can just love myself? No, it means that I'm a lot more confident. I've got me. I'm great. You don't have to do anything for me. And if you do, it's just a bonus. And wow, now I'm so grateful because not only am I giving myself words of affirmation, but now he is too. So it's like a double bonus. That's so amazing, right? And I'm able to be more kind and happy with other people. I'm not manipulating them because I already have what I want, and they can just go ahead and be who they are, and I can go ahead and be who I am, and we can have a really fun time together. Okay, so here are the 5 languages of love and my ideas about how you might give them to yourself in not a creepy way. Okay, so let's get started. Number 1 is words of affirmation. So the whole reason that I thought of this podcast, the whole idea came about when I was on one of my sessions, and we were talking about this exercise where you can stand in front of the mirror and just tell yourself how much you love yourself, or give yourself a couple of compliments every day. So the idea again is just loving you, right? Loving yourself and standing in front of the mirror and giving yourself those words of affirmation. So if you feel like you're someone who loves to be complimented, you can do that to yourself. And after we talked about this exercise with my client and she did it for a week, she came back and she's like, oh, it's kind of like the 5 languages of love. I'm really a words of affirmation person. And it was so nice to kind of give it to myself. And I thought that was so cool that I wanted to do a whole podcast on it. And how cool is this concept? I mean, we beat ourselves up all day in our heads, just kind of automatically sometimes. And it's nice to just stand in front of the mirror, look yourself in the eye, and give yourself the compliments that you need. And I recommend starting at things that you really believe too. Like, just look at yourself in the mirror, and instead of looking at that chub around your belly or your crooked teeth or whatever, you look at some things, start looking for some things that you like about yourself. Like, wow, my hair looks great today, or I really love my nose. My nose always looks good, or my eyes always look good. And just start complimenting yourself on those few things that you really love about yourself, and then expand from there. Another one, the second one is service. So serving yourself. How can you serve yourself? And I love one of Brooke Castillo's questions that she says she likes to ask herself. And she asks herself, how can I support you? Right? Wouldn't that be great if someone just came up and said, how can I support you? What do you need right now? And instead of waiting for somebody to ask you, you just sit back, because I'm a total fan of talking to yourself, right? Sit back, ask yourself, well, how can I support you? What do you need right now? And then you just go and you get it done, right? So that's great. So service. So we've got through words of affirmation, where we can sit in front of the mirror. We can give ourselves words of affirmation. You can do some journaling if that's better. You've got service, where you can just ask yourself what you need and do it. Like, maybe you just genuinely need a nap, so go take one. Or maybe you need to go spend some time with friends, or whatever it is. I think we could spend more time just sitting back and thinking of ways to serve ourselves. The next one is quality time. So in the same way, right? Maybe you're wanting to have quality time with somebody else. Maybe they don't want to have quality time with you, right? You could sit back and have quality time with yourself. What would I like to do right now? What would be fun for me? And just go do that thing. Whenever I teach my clients about exercise, I'm like, stop doing the exercise that you don't want to do. Like, stop going to the gym if you hate it, and go find something that you actually want to do, and go have, like, maybe you really want to try rowing or rock climbing, or maybe you just love hiking, or maybe you just want to walk. Okay. You have my permission to go walk. So just find something that you love to do with yourself and go do it, and talk to yourself while you're there. Ask yourself what else you need, right? So it's quality time. And then the fourth one is physical touch. And that is where this can get a little weird whenever you're doing it for yourself, right? But I think the way that you could give yourself physical touch maybe would be a nice hug, or like literally a pat on the back, right? You can rub your arms or your body in not a weird way and then massages, right? Like, maybe if your partner, your husband, doesn't want to give you a massage, maybe you just go get one from somebody who does. You go pay someone for a massage, right? So you're giving yourself the thing that you need. And again, because you fulfilled yourself in that way, all of this is just ways to fill up your cup so that you can have more love to share with other people, right? And then the last one is receiving gifts. So I think we hear people do this from time to time, right? Like, I bought myself this birthday present. But I love this story that I heard from Jody Moore, where I think it was Valentine's Day, where she had gone and she planned that everyone would go out to dinner, and she got everybody little presents, and she knew that her husband probably wasn't going to get her a present because he just doesn't think about it. But she wanted a present, so she just bought herself a present too, and she came to the dinner and she gave everybody out their presents, and she's like, great, here's all your stuff. Does anybody have anything for me? And they're looking around like, oh no. And she just pulls her present out. Great, I got one for myself. And, just kind of rolled with it, because I think a lot of times we get in that trap where we're like, oh, we want them to know what we want, or is that going to feel like love, or I can't just like go out and get myself something. But honestly, if they don't want to get it for you, then why not just get it for yourself and enjoy the night and have the present that you absolutely wanted, right? So those other gifts, of course, could maybe not be physical things, but again, like we had already talked about, maybe gifts of time or gifts of kind words to yourself and things like that. So I love these languages. I love that they give us an opportunity to think about all the different ways that you can take care of yourself. And I'm just going to run through them one more time so that you remember. It's number 1, words of affirmation. Number 2, service, serving yourself, asking yourself, how can I help you? What do you need right now? quality time, spending quality time that you actually like to do, what stuff you actually like to do, physical touch, like maybe just giving yourself a hug, a good old pat on the back, maybe going to get a massage, receiving gifts, and just go out and giving yourself a gift. Or honestly, receiving gifts too, I think can mean that you're a great receiver. Like we were saying at the beginning, sometimes we push it off and we don't receive a compliment, or we don't receive something that someone wants to do that's nice for us. And maybe just opening up and letting yourself receive those things and being grateful for them as well is a great way to receive gifts, right? Awesome. So I hope you loved this episode. Just pick one of those things. Try to think about which one is your language of love and do something for yourself this week. Just fulfill it for you this week, because that's who you have control over. And I'd love to hear how it goes. Send me a comment on the website. And if you love this episode, of course, share it with a friend, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. What's one thing that's really been weighing you down? Are you ready to kick it to the side? Then join me for a Stress Less call today, where you'll learn the /1 mindset tool that I use to stop stressing and find relief right now. Go to icutthemustard.com/stressless to sign up for that call today.